Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, my road to this esteemed House has been a long one, but better late than never. Over the last 25 years, ground up, every House visit, kopitiam conversation, and community walkabout has reinforced my belief that Singapore is special because of the resilience and trust of our people. When I first declined the invitation to enter politics in 1996, I had just become the managing director of an investment firm. I did not know where my heart truly was. In 1998, during the Asian financial crisis, I was asked to retrench staff, but refused, proposing instead that senior management take a pay cut to save jobs. Because I stood up for others, I was retrenched myself. I counseled those retrenched at a fast food outlet for weeks, and to boost morale, I helped the most important person in my firm, our tea lady, secure a new job, which she kept until her retirement. This painful experience brought me back to the ground. In 1999, I began volunteering in Aljunied GRC to help those in need, even when I disagreed with some policies. When a strong PAP team was forsaken in 2011, I stepped forward. By then, after walking the ground for years, I knew where my heart truly was. 路遥知马力，热酒见人心. To walk the ground, I quit my CEO level job in 2012. Later, when I tried to re-enter the workforce, I experienced what some Singaporean PMETs faced: rejection, uncertainty, and the pain of starting over. While I believe in an open economy, we must ensure employment practices that are fair and build up our Singaporean core. Once, I remember interviewing candidates for a position. Strangely, they all seemed to come from the same company. I asked my staff to ensure that they were kept separate, and seemingly they were pushed out, quietly displaced. Together with my early years as a policymaker in government, these first-hand ground experiences helped me empathize and understand the real-world challenges faced by our people. In Aljunied GRC, we worked hard, day to day, between general elections outside of Parliament. When offered the chance to contest elsewhere, I chose to stay and send my teammate instead. Having contested not once but twice, facing the opposition's leadership team, I feel like this is my third term. The leader of the opposition and his team know how hard we work the ground. So much so, they coined the term 2 for the price of 1. Vote the WP and get the PAP for free. I've had more than my fair share of Aljunied voters who appreciated our groundwork and want the PAP to form the government, but sheepishly confess they voted to check on the PAP. It may be one vote, but together, as the Chinese saying goes, 杀鸡取卵, in other words, killing the goose that lays the golden eggs. With greater political contestation, we must guard against populist ideas presented by those who do not have to be in the driver's seat. As we can see in many mature democracies, eventually the interests of the country and of its people will be overridden by self-preservation, division, and instability. With the interplay of digital media and geopolitics, I ask our honorable members across the aisle to assure us that they will reject any external influence on our domestic politics. Taken together, Singapore voters are rational and want an opposition voice. But I ask Singaporeans to demand from the opposition the same high standards that they expect from the PAP. Sir, I am here thanks to the voters of Ang Mo Kio GRC. I also am grateful for the support of Aljunied GRC residents, our activists and volunteers over the years. To our teams now serving in Aljunied and Sengkang GRCs and in Hougang SMC, I say, 加油. Sir, over the years, I've had the privilege of seeing children grow up in our community. Some were still in school when I first met them at community centers or during house visits. Today, many of them are young adults, newly married, setting up homes, and even raising their toddlers. During my walkabouts, quite a few showing photographs taken with me, stored in their phones, tell me they now live in Buangkok Fernvale South, the newly constituted ward within Ang Mo Kio GRC, where I now serve. It reminds me of our responsibility to ensure that Singapore continues to be a place where families can thrive and where every child can do better than the generation before. Ultimately, the Singapore brand of politics must be about making Singaporeans' lives better. As a small, resource-scarce, accidental nation, we arose out of adversity. Singapore is not the result of populist ideas, but of hard, long-term decisions built on trust between our people and our leaders. Today, that trust remains the core of our social compact. We must lead with resolve and heart, honoring our seniors, upskilling our people, uplifting the vulnerable, supporting families, and inspiring our youth. Now, let me talk about the following issues: access to affordable food, unlocking our silver dividend, education to shift from answers to questions, and from GDP to GNP. Sir, I empathize with Singaporeans who worry about the cost of living. With my late parents' love language of food and memories of my siblings squabbling over one fried egg, I want food in Singapore to unite and not divide. Affordable food means different things to different people. Left undefined, it can distort the perceptions of the cost of living. Like many Singaporeans, I'm concerned about the rentals, hawker retirements, and stall closures. But we must avoid conflating these arguments and be clearer about the cooked food segments that we are talking about. For instance, we can see four distinct parts. One, the NEA and the socially conscious enterprise hawker centers, SEHCs. Two, the HDB rented coffee shops after 1998. The HDB private coffee shops sold before 1998. And finally, the private F&B sector, where you have food courts, restaurants, and so on. Sir, private F&B and HDB private coffee shops should be left rightly to market forces. However, we should ensure fair tenancy practices and discourage speculative investment behavior. NEA SEHC hawker centers, as well as HDB rented coffee shops, should be our social kitchens and community spaces. These two segments are where we must ensure access to affordable food, protect our hawker livelihoods, and strengthen our social compact. More than cost, we should look at revenue. Our food is our asset. Why not reimagine our hawker culture as a tourism product with cooking classes, food trails, and heritage tours in our heartlands? If we can increase the average length of stay of a tourist just by 1 day, the multiplier effects on our economy would be significant. We must support also traditional foods which will otherwise disappear in this new economic environment. In my constituency, I have begun discussing a pilot heritage project to support our merchants and bring more vibrancy to our community with ad hoc work that will inspire our youth and engage our seniors under my umbrella concept called Community Work Fair. That brings me to the next topic of unlocking our silver dividend. Sir, our seniors are an untapped strength. Many still want to contribute not just in formal jobs, but in mentoring, caregiving, and community life. At a recent community event, I met Mr. Abdullah bin Ali, a retiree who teaches gardening at our Home Nursing Foundation Active Aging Center in Buangkok Crescent. Not because he has to, but because, in his own words, if I can stay active and share my knowledge, why not? Or take Madam Sandy Goh, who despite her own challenges has rallied seniors to support food rescue programs, first with me at Bedok Reservoir and Hougang, and now in my new ward of Buangkok Fernvale South. This spirit of staying active, giving back, and finding new meaning is the silver dividend we must unlock, where aging is not a sunset, but a second spring. To our youth, our education should move from answers to questions. Sir, a young student recently asked me, if I can use AI, why do I still need to study? Exams don't define potential. In this AI era, it's not the answers we give, but the questions we must ask. Are our primary classrooms supporting how children's brains actually learn best? I recall in my primary school how we were repeatedly drilled for the PSLE. One classmate was always slower to answer and often punished by being made to stand on his desk. It was traumatic for him and painful for us to witness. He did not do so well in the PSLE, yet in later life, he rose to become a respected editor of a major publication. That experience reminds us that one exam does not define a child, and a one-size-fits-all teaching can sometimes wound more than it uplifts. Every child learns differently. Brain-based pedagogy is rooted in respect for the learner, that each child's brain learns through meaning, emotion, and connection, not just by rote memory. Many parents will know the helpless feeling, like me, of being unable to solve a math problem alongside their primary school child. Instead of pushing both parents and child to frustration, imagine a system where adaptive AI helps the child practice and learn at his own pace, while the teacher steps in as a coach in confidence. Our challenge is not to teach more, but to teach differently, supported by adaptive AI tools and teacher as coach models. We must invest boldly in every child, because with fewer children, each one matters more. Unlike the repeated refrain of calling for a smaller class size, we should be advocating how we cater to different learning styles and behaviors. Class size, the teaching environment, and pedagogy are the derivatives. If we fail to make this shift, the risk is clear. Affluent parents will move ahead with AI-driven personalized learning outside our school system, while the rest of our children remain in rote-based pathways. That will widen social divides. With AI, do we want an education system that hardens inequality, or one that allows each child to learn with confidence? For the economic strategy, we should look at GNP instead of GDP. For the past 60 years, Singapore measured growth by GDP, building ourselves into a global hub. I say, for the next 60 years, we should also track GNP, how Singaporeans can benefit directly from growth, not just from home, but also abroad. This shifts from what Singapore produces to what Singaporeans earn. We should move beyond attracting just FDI flows to maximizing Singaporeans' participation in global value chains. Our economic strategy must not only attract activity to Singapore, but also build pathways for Singaporeans, especially our youth, to participate meaningfully in global value chains. We should encourage Singapore firms to internationalize and count their overseas income as part of our national strength. Look at the region, look at the world. With technology, Singaporeans, we are not confined to our own borders. Our companies, our professionals, our entrepreneurs, all should be increasingly international. By placing more weight on GNP, we shift our focus from the size of the pie on our shores to the larger share that our people can enjoy beyond Singapore. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, GDP will always remain a useful measure of our hub vibrancy. But as we look to the next 60 years, it's time we look for growth beyond our shores, from what is produced in Singapore to what Singaporeans earn globally. That is the shift from GDP to GNP. In closing, sir, to keep Singapore special, we must maintain strong trust between our people and our leaders. And I say across the aisle, Singaporeans must demand the same high standards and accountability as they expect of us. Our president has spoken. It's not what we say, but what we do. More than what we achieve is what we inspire. In this house, across both aisles, let's work together to build better lives and livelihoods for all Singaporeans. Let's keep Singapore special. Sir, I support the motion. Thank you.